My family tried to frame me with fake loans and estate fraud. I gathered proof, exposed it in court, and now they're broke while I hold the keys to the family house they lost. Hey, Reddit. So this whole thing went down over the past year, and honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around it. Thought I'd share because it's one of those you can't make this stuff up situations. Let's just say it started with a family that treated me like a backup wallet and ended with, well, you'll see. Buckle up, it's a ride. I'll start straight up. I, 32 male, am not the family ATM. Never was, never wanted to be. But I did bail them out twice. And apparently, that was enough for them to decide I was their safety net. The first time was Dad's truck. He drives this rusted out F-150 that looked like it belonged in a junkyard 10 years ago. One morning he calls me while I'm on site, walking a property with a couple investors. He's in full panic mode. Transmission gone, shop wants $3,000, says he can't get to side jobs without it. I'm standing there in a hard hat, trying not to look like my phone is exploding in my ear, while one of the investors asks about zoning permits. I wire the shop the money before lunch just to shut him up. Truck's fixed, Dad's happy. I go back to negotiating a deal worth 8 figures. That's the kind of split reality I live in. The second bailout was Mom. She calls me crying about credit cards, late fees piling up, interest stacking faster than she could make payments at her part-time jewelry store job. She's the type who thinks buying a $300 necklace for employee discount and paying it off with minimums counts as a smart financial move. I look at her balance, $9,000. I knock it out in one shot. And that's it. 2 emergencies. Not monthly allowances, not a lifestyle fund, not Justin will fix it. Just 2 times when my family looked desperate and I had the means to step in. Enter Kyle, my younger brother, 29 going on 19. If confidence alone made you rich, Kyle would be a billionaire. He walks around like he's too important to work regular jobs, always bragging about his next big thing, which usually means some half-baked business idea that dies within weeks. Delivery app, crypto coin, podcast, you name it. None of them made $1, but he struts like he's on the verge of changing the world. His actual reality? Burning through whatever girlfriend he's with, borrowing money he never pays back. I once overheard him tell a friend, "My brother's loaded in real estate. I'll be set one way or another." Like I'm his retirement plan. And then there's Uncle Eugene. Grandpa left behind about $250,000 between property, investments, and cash. Eugene was the trustee. On paper, that meant he was supposed to keep everything in order until it was divided properly. In reality, it meant he suddenly thought he was Warren Buffett. Except Warren Buffett doesn't blow estate money on business trips that look a lot like casino weekends. Eugene loved to remind everyone how complicated running a trust was. Every family barbecue turned into a lecture about fiduciary duties and managing portfolios. Meanwhile, the guy once tried to invest in a golf simulator startup that went bankrupt in 6 months. Grandpa would roll in his grave if he knew. For a while, I just let it all slide. I was busy running developments, signing deals, and walking job sites. My days were packed with contractors yelling about material delays and bankers haggling over percentages. Compared to that, family nonsense felt like background noise. Until the Thanksgiving fiasco. I dropped close to $4,000 on a private dining setup at a steakhouse downtown. I figured once a year, I could do something nice and keep the peace. Fancy room, multi-course meal, wine, the whole 9. I'm sitting at the head of the table, investors from earlier that week still blowing up my phone, and Kyle leans back in his chair like he's Don Draper. He doesn't even thank me. Instead, he smirks and goes, "Man, Justin, it must be nice not having real problems. Just flipping buildings and cashing checks. Like the last 15 years of grinding 60-hour weeks was a lucky scratch-off ticket." Dad chuckled like Kyle just said something profound. Mom nodded. Eugene lifted his glass like, "Yeah, he's right." Meanwhile, Kyle was wearing a watch he definitely didn't buy with his own money and talking about a networking trip to Miami that looked suspiciously like a vacation. That night, I walked out of the restaurant ticked, but not shocked. That's the thing. If you give Kyle a chance, he'll find a way to take credit for your work or downplay it. And Mom and Dad? They always back him. He's the golden boy. Always has been. I only really vented to one person, Trevor, my best friend since college. He was with me back when I was pulling all-nighters to pass real estate licensing exams and taking side jobs just to cover rent. We'd built our lives from nothing. Trevor's the guy who calls me out when I need it. No filter. I told him about Kyle's little must be nice jab, and Trevor just laughed. "Your brother's a clown, man. If he had half a brain, he'd be dangerous." But nah, he's just loud. Still, Trevor always kept tabs. He'd hear me mention family drama and jot stuff down. Dude, you realize you've covered your mom's card, your dad's truck, hosted dinners, plus all the little favors? Add it up. He once calculated that, even with just those 2 emergencies and events, I dropped close to $20,000 in a few years. And that was before I even started looking closer at Eugene's handling of the trust. The cracks were showing. Little things, like Eugene suddenly driving a new SUV for estate business, or Kyle flashing cash he shouldn't have. Stuff that didn't add up. I didn't push yet. I didn't blow up. I just watched, logged things, waited. Because one thing about being in real estate, you learn patience. Deals fall apart, then come back stronger if you wait. And I had a feeling whatever my family was hiding was going to unravel. It didn't take long. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, I was in the middle of a site walkthrough downtown when an email hit my phone from Eugene. Subject line, Quarterly Trust Report. Except it wasn't a report. It was 3 lines and an attached PDF that looked like a kid drew it. No breakdown, no ledger, just assets remain stable, and a bunch of vague numbers. I opened it 3 times, thinking maybe pages were missing. They weren't. That night, I called him. Eugene, this isn't a report. This is napkin math. Where's the detailed breakdown? He sighed like I was a spoiled customer complaining about fries being cold. Justin, you don't need every detail. That's why I'm trustee. You handle your buildings. I'll handle the estate. Wrong answer. I didn't blow up, though. I emailed him the next morning. Polite, professional, like I was dealing with a client. Can you provide line items for the following withdrawals? Dates, amounts, and vendors? I listed out 5 transactions that jumped out. $7,200 here, $4,500 there. That's when the mood shifted. 2 days later, I'm on site negotiating with contractors when my phone starts buzzing. Group text, family chat. First line from mom's number. We've discussed this as a family. We think it's time you step back from finances. We can handle our own money. Please give us space. I read it 3 times. Before I could even type, Kyle chimed in with fireworks emojis and a laughing gif. Dad gave it a thumbs up. Eugene added, exactly. We don't need micromanagement. Respect boundaries. I was standing in a half-finished lobby, drywall dust in the air, watching my own family fire me like I was a contractor they didn't like. By the time I got home, Kyle had already taken it to Instagram. A story with some inspirational quote about toxic people and a blurry shot of me from Thanksgiving dinner. Caption: Some people only care about control, not family. His little fan club ate it up, sending him heart emojis and, "You're so strong, bro," replies. That was the moment it clicked. They weren't just shutting me out. They were building a story where I was the villain. Trevor came over that night. I showed him the group text and Kyle's post. He leaned back on my couch, grinning like he was watching a sitcom. They really did it, he said. They flipped it. You asked one question, and now you're the control freak trying to steal from the family. It doesn't even make sense, I said. I barely touched their stuff. I've only covered 2 emergencies. Doesn't matter, Trevor said, grabbing a slice of pizza from the box between us. Narratives beat facts. They've been mooching off you in small ways, and the second you hold up a flashlight, they scream that you're the problem. Classic. He wasn't wrong. The next morning, Mom called me. I didn't answer, but the voicemail was brutal. Justin, I don't know why you're obsessed with money. This family needs peace, not accusations. You have plenty. Let Eugene do his job. Stop trying to control everyone. Translation: Shut up and keep quiet while Eugene burns through what Grandpa left. Later that week, I spotted Kyle downtown. I was leaving a meeting, and he was walking out of a boutique with shopping bags, designer sneakers, some overpriced hoodie, grinning like he just closed a Fortune 500 deal. He saw me, smirked, and lifted a bag like a trophy. Don't worry, big bro, he called across the street. Not a dime of yours. Then he laughed and ducked into a car that looked way above his pay grade. I knew he was lying. The guy couldn't even keep a part-time job at a gym without losing interest. No way he had the cash for that haul. The more I thought about it, the more everything lined up. Kyle flashing money. Eugene dodging questions. Mom acting like accountability was an insult. That weekend, I dug back through my old emails and paperwork. When Grandpa passed, I'd been added as a backup trustee in case Eugene couldn't fulfill his duties. I'd forgotten about it because I never thought I'd need it. But now, it looked like a lifeline. I kept quiet. Didn't send another message. Didn't argue on the group chat. I let them think I was sulking. Meanwhile, I started pulling strings. First thing I did was dig through the old emails from when Grandpa passed. Buried in a folder, I found the setup docs from when Eugene had me help him get the estate accounts online. Back then, he couldn't even figure out how to reset a password. Since I'd been listed as the contingency trustee, the bank had set me up with my own login when Grandpa passed. I'd almost forgotten about it. Out of curiosity, I checked. And sure enough, my access still worked. Within 5 minutes, I was staring at raw bank statements Eugene never thought I'd see. And holy hell, the guy wasn't even subtle. Business consulting fee for $4,800 that landed the same weekend he posted pictures from Atlantic City. Maintenance expense for $3,200, which sure enough matched a Facebook post of him grinning on a fishing boat. I flagged a dozen transactions in 10 minutes. I called Trevor over. He showed up with his laptop, bag of energy drinks, and that smirk he gets when he knows things are about to get messy. We set up in my kitchen. Papers spread everywhere. All right, Trevor said, cracking one open. Let's peel this onion. We went line by line. Withdrawals, transfers, LLC names that didn't exist anywhere online. Half the stuff screamed fake. But the part that really hit me was when Trevor cross-referenced one of my own credit pulls. Dude, he said, spinning his screen toward me. Why do you have a credit line at First National in your name that you've never used? I frowned. I don't think so. My main cards are with other banks. Then explain this, he said, scrolling through. Opened 6 years ago. Balance right now? 14 grand. All luxury crap. Flights, restaurants, high-end clothes. Does Kyle ring a bell? That's when my stomach dropped. I remembered. Years ago, Kyle couldn't get approved for a card and begged me to help him build credit. I added him as an authorized user on my account. Tiny limit for emergencies. I forgot about it once the limit crept up over the years. Apparently, the bank raised the limit over time. Kyle had been hammering it ever since. Trevor started reading charges out loud. 2 Louis Vuitton transactions. 1 at Rolex. 3 steakhouse dinners at $400 a pop. This guy's been living like a rapper off your name. I just sat there, shaking my head. And I'm on the hook for it all. Yup, Trevor said. Every dime. And guess what? If this blows up, it's not just Kyle overspent. On paper, it's you. That was the first smoking gun. The second came an hour later. Trevor dug into another batch of documents Eugene had scanned into the shared cloud folder. Buried in a PDF was a loan application with my name typed across the bottom. My signature. Only problem? I'd never signed it. We printed it and laid it next to one of my real contracts. The fake looked like someone traced my signature drunk. Same angle, but the letters were clunky, uneven. That's not sloppy paperwork, Trevor said. That's forgery. Straight up fraud. He kept digging. We found 3 more applications with my name. Loans tied to shell companies Eugene supposedly invested in. No websites, no business filings, nothing real. Just drains for cash. By midnight, we had a stack of evidence covering the table. Trevor kept cross-referencing, muttering like a detective piecing together a murder case. Look at this. Eugene pulls 5 grand on the 12th. That same weekend, Facebook post of him at Borgata Casino. Pulls 8 grand in February. Same timestamp, he's tagged in Atlantic City again. He's not even hiding it. And Kyle? I asked. Trevor flipped a page. Your boy's been charging gas, clothes, and dinners nonstop. He's got girlfriends eating lobster on your credit, bro. There's even a $1,200 charge at a nightclub. Bottle service. Guess who paid? I rubbed my temples. Unbelievable. Oh, it gets better, Trevor said. Some of these payments he's making? Just minimums. That's why it flew under your radar. He kept it afloat long enough to make it look normal, then started maxing it once the limit grew. It's the perfect leech move. I stared at the pile. Kyle's charges, Eugene's fake LLCS, my forged signature. It was all right there. Trevor leaned back, tapping his pen on the table. This isn't them just leeching anymore, man. This is a setup. They're shifting everything onto you. If this blows up without context, you're the thief. I didn't even argue. He was right. One look at the paper trail, and it looked like I was the one bleeding Grandpa's money, buying luxury junk, and pulling loans through shady companies. I thought back to that group chat. Mom calling me controlling. Dad siding with Eugene. Kyle laughing like he'd won something. Suddenly it all made sense. They weren't just pushing me out. They were building their defense in advance. Trevor cracked another energy drink. So, we know the who and the how. Your uncle's the ringleader. Kyle's the reckless sidekick. Your parents are the cover. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I didn't answer right away. I just kept staring at the evidence. Every page another reminder of how far they'd gone. For the first time, it hit me crystal clear. They weren't just family acting entitled. They were lining me up to take the fall. And if I didn't flip the script soon, I'd be the one left holding the bag. So I did the one thing my family wasn't expecting. I went quiet. No angry texts, no phone calls, no demands for explanations. I just shut up and acted like I'd accepted the "we need space" message. On the outside, I was the bitter older brother licking his wounds. On the inside, I was watching everything closely. Trevor kept coming over, but he started acting strange, taking calls on my balcony, muttering quick goodbyes when I walked in the room. Normally, he was loud, sarcastic, the guy who roasted everyone. Now he was focused, almost cagey. I didn't press him, but I noticed. Meanwhile, I went straight after the weak spots. First move. The card was mine, and Kyle was just an authorized user. I called the issuer, removed him immediately, and asked them to close the card number and reissue to me only. I also told them any charges after the removal weren't authorized by the primary. Kyle's little spree died on the spot. Quick pause, fellas. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. Thanks so much for your support. All right, back to the drama. I didn't tell Trevor at first, but I didn't have to. 3 days later, he showed up grinning, waving his phone. Bro, Kyle tried to buy shoes at the mall. Card declined. The dude had to put half the stuff back while the cashier gave him the look. I laughed harder than I should have. Good. Let him explain that on Instagram. Second move, my credit report. I pulled the full file and went line by line. Sure enough, there were multiple accounts I didn't recognize. Loans tied to shell companies, all with Eugene's fingerprints. I flagged everyone as fraud and sent in documentation proving my signature had been forged. That meant the banks would start investigating, and once they realized it was fake, the charges wouldn't land on me. Trevor helped me organize everything into folders. One for Kyle's card abuse, one for Eugene's estate theft, one for the forged loans. He even color-coded it. We're not just covering your ass, he said. We're building a case. The fallout started fast. Kyle was the first to crack. He blew up my phone with calls and texts. Why did you cancel the card? That's my line. You ruined my credit. You selfish piece of... I didn't reply. I just watched the notifications stack up, each one angrier than the last. By the end of the week, he left a voicemail where he actually cried. You don't get it, Justin. I had plans. I needed that card. Plans, yeah. Like another round of overpriced sushi and rented cars for his Instagram flex. Eugene wasn't far behind. He sent me a stiff email full of big words about interference and legal exposure. Translation: he knew I was poking around. The best part? He CC'd my parents, trying to make it look official. Mom responded with her usual line. Justin, stop making problems. Eugene knows what he's doing. Dad added, this is exactly why we asked you to step back. I didn't reply to them either. While they scrambled, Trevor and I kept digging. He pulled Eugene's public posts and matched them to the estate withdrawals. Every casino trip lined up perfectly. Every business expense was the same weekend Eugene was posting pictures with a whiskey in hand. It was so obvious it was almost insulting. But the real fun was Kyle. His life started to unravel in public. He tried to post an Instagram story at a restaurant, and people in the comments roasted him for flexing while his card was frozen. Word got around that stores were rejecting his payments. One girl even tagged him. Isn't this the guy whose brother pays for everything? Trevor nearly fell off my couch laughing when he read that one out loud. Bro, he's getting ratioed in his own comments. This is beautiful. I kept my cool. No gloating, no direct shots. The goal wasn't just to embarrass Kyle. It was to make them all sweat while I tightened the screws. Late one night, I caught Trevor outside on another call. When he came back in, I gave him a look. You hiding something? He smirked. Nothing bad. Just making sure certain people see what we're putting together. I didn't push it. Whatever he was cooking, I trusted him. By the end of the month, my family was cracking. Kyle was broke and furious. Mom kept leaving voicemails about how this isn't you. And Eugene was sending formal emails like he was preparing for a lawsuit. None of them realized every move they made was just adding fuel to the fire. The beauty was, they thought I was still sulking. They had no idea I'd already started pulling their little empire apart piece by piece. And the best part? I hadn't even gone public yet. That changed the following week. First step, I filed official disputes with the bank on every loan and credit line that carried my forged signature. They launched an investigation within days. Second step, I sent a neat little package to the estate's oversight attorney, bank statements cross-checked with Eugene's casino photos. This wasn't social media drama anymore. This was legal. Kyle, of course, lost it first. The fraud disputes started hitting his favorite stores. One luxury boutique rejected him outright after his card started declining. The issuer had flagged the account from all the chargebacks and risk reviews, so stores stopped playing ball. Word spread fast. Merchants talk. He showed up at my condo one night, pounding on my door like he owned the place. "You think you're clever?" he shouted through the door. "Freezing my accounts? Trashing my name? You'll pay for this." I didn't answer. I let him yell until the neighbors complained. Then he stormed off in that cheap leather jacket he thought made him look rich. 2 days later, I got the paperwork. Kyle was suing me for defamation. Trevor almost spit out his drink when I showed him. "This clown actually thinks dragging you into court is gonna work? Bro, he's handing you the stage." I wasn't worried. If anything, it was the perfect chance to unload everything. The court date came up quicker than I expected. Expedited because the paperwork was dumb obvious. A preliminary hearing on his bogus defamation claim, packed room, Kyle walking in with a shiny suit he clearly rented and his usual smug grin. Mom and Dad sat behind him like cheerleaders, nodding every time he whispered. Eugene wasn't there, probably busy trying to plug holes in his own sinking ship. Kyle puffed out his chest and opened with a speech about how I'd orchestrated a smear campaign to ruin his reputation. He painted himself as the hard-working younger brother, the victim of a jealous sibling who couldn't stand his success. He even pulled out screenshots of Trevor's anonymous comments roasting him online. The judge barely raised an eyebrow. When it was my turn, I didn't bother with speeches. I slid a binder across the desk. Neatly tabbed, color-coded. Trevor's handiwork. Every charge from my account that Kyle was an authorized user on. Every purchase he made without my consent. Notice the dates and locations. The judge flipped a few pages. Louis Vuitton. Rolex. Steakhouse. She looked up at Kyle. "Mr. Swanson, do you deny these charges?" Kyle squirmed. That's not the point. He's making me look bad." The judge cut him off. "Answer the question." Kyle stammered. "No, but..." Trevor leaned forward, grinning like a kid at Christmas. "Check tab 3, Your Honor." Kyle's Instagram posts. Same days, same locations, same purchases he just admitted were his. The judge turned page after page. Kyle at dinner, holding a $400 steak. Kyle showing off a Rolex. Kyle flexing with shopping bags. Each one time-stamped the exact same day as the disputed charges. It was a massacre. By the end, Kyle wasn't cocky anymore. He was sweating, tugging at his collar, while Mom whispered frantically behind him. Dad just stared at the floor. The judge's ruling was blunt. "This case is dismissed." And Mr. Swanson, consider yourself lucky your brother isn't pursuing charges against you for fraud. Court adjourned. Kyle bolted out of the room like someone had pulled the fire alarm. Mom tried to follow me out, but Trevor blocked her with one line. "Family loyalty doesn't cover felony spending." I couldn't have said it better, but Kyle wasn't the only one taking damage. While his fake image crumbled, Eugene was getting roasted by people who actually mattered. The oversight attorney filed the complaint, and the bank immediately froze the trust accounts pending review. I started getting CC'd on letters demanding Eugene explain irregular withdrawals. Every one of those withdrawals matched our timeline of casino trips and business investments. He tried to spin it as necessary expenses, but once the oversight committee saw pictures of him at Borgata with whiskey glasses and poker chips, it was over. Mom left me a voicemail that night, her voice trembling. "Justin, you've gone too far. Eugene's facing charges. Kyle's humiliated, and you're tearing this family apart. Please stop." "Stop? After they tried to hang me out to dry? Not a chance." Dad's voicemail wasn't much better. "Son, we need to talk this out. Eugene made mistakes, but this doesn't have to be criminal. Drop it before it goes too far." Too far? They were fine when I was being set up as the fall guy. Now that their golden boy was humiliated and Eugene was under investigation, suddenly I was the problem again. I didn't respond. Trevor and I walked out of that courtroom with the judge's words still echoing. Kyle's lawsuit, dead. His image, dead. Eugene, cornered. My parents, scrambling. Trevor slapped me on the back as we hit the parking lot. 1 down, 2 to go. He wasn't wrong. The walls were closing in, and for the first time, it wasn't around me. It started with Eugene. A few weeks after Kyle's courtroom embarrassment, the investigators wrapped their first review. It moved faster than usual because the paper trail was basically gift-wrapped. I didn't even have to guess the outcome. Trevor had already built them a trail of breadcrumbs a toddler could follow. Withdrawals labeled business consulting that matched Eugene's casino weekends, maintenance fees that lined up with boat repairs. It was all too clean. The call came early in the morning. Trevor answered before I could grab my phone. He listened for a moment, grinned, and mouthed arrested. Eugene had been picked up at his house, still in his bathrobe, charged with multiple counts. By the end of that same day, his mugshot was already circulating on local news sites. They don't waste time when a trustee rips off a family estate. Headline: Local trustee accused of stealing $50,000 from family estate. The article said $50,000, but that was just the amount they could charge him with immediately. The full estate was closer to $250,000, and investigators were still digging through the rest. Trevor and I sat on my couch, watching the news clip while eating takeout. "This dude lectured you about fiduciary responsibility," Trevor said, laughing. "Now look at him. Orange jumpsuit couture." I couldn't help smiling. But the arrest wasn't just Eugene's problem. Investigators dug deeper, and guess whose signatures popped up on some of the loan applications? My parents. Their names were scribbled at the bottom, right under my forged one. Whether they knew what they were signing or just pretended not to notice, it didn't matter. They were implicated. They didn't get arrested, but they sure as hell had to lawyer up. The same people who told me Eugene knows what he's doing were now calling me nonstop, crying about how unfair it was. Mom left a voicemail that went on for 3 full minutes about how she didn't understand the papers, and how she only signed because Eugene told us it was safe. I didn't bother replying. While they scrambled with lawyers, Kyle's whole fake empire crumbled. Without the card I shut down, without my name to lean on, he was exposed. The boutique stores he'd bragged about shopping at blacklisted him. His car payments defaulted. The bank repossessed his ride in the middle of a busy street downtown. Someone recorded it and posted the video. Kyle yelling at the tow truck driver while people laughed in the background. Trevor sent me the clip with crying laugh emojis. Your brother just went viral, not in the way he wanted. It got worse for him. His landlord served him notice after realizing his income was basically a string of unpaid credit. No one wanted to rent to a guy whose name was tied to fraud reports and unpaid balances. His friends bailed too. Turns out free dinners and club tabs were the only reason they stuck around. Once he couldn't pay, they ghosted him. The golden boy was living back at my parents' house by the end of the month. And that house? That was next. Without Eugene funneling estate money, and without my one-off bailouts and family tabs, like covering emergencies or footing holiday dinners, Mom and Dad couldn't keep up. Bills stacked up, mortgage slipped, and eventually the bank started foreclosure. The same home they used to host Thanksgiving dinners in, the one where they bragged about their financial stability, was going up for auction. The irony wasn't lost on me. Meanwhile, I was officially cleared. The bank investigations wiped my name from every fraudulent loan. The estate attorney activated me as successor trustee. I'd been listed as backup in the original docs, almost forgot about it. Everything Eugene stole was laid out, and now I was the one responsible for cleaning up the mess. For once, the weight wasn't on me because I was forced to carry it. It was on me because I'd earned it. But my family still didn't get it. One Saturday, they showed up at my condo uninvited. Dad looked older, beaten down, like the years had finally caught up. Mom had her "we need to talk" face, which I'd seen too many times as a kid. And Kyle, he looked like a ghost. No car, no fancy clothes, just a wrinkled hoodie and bitterness in his eyes. "We need to fix this," Mom said as soon as I opened the door. "Fix what?" I asked. "Your mess? Eugene's charges? Kyle's fraud? That's not mine to fix." Dad stepped forward, trying his old stern tone. "We're family. Family sticks together, even when mistakes are made." I laughed, cold and sharp. "Funny, because when I asked about Eugene's withdrawals, you didn't stick with me. You fired me from my own family." Kyle finally spoke up. His voice cracked. "You ruined my life, Justin." "No," I said. "You ruined it the second you thought my signature was a blank check. All I did was pull the plug." He clenched his fists, but didn't say another word. Mom started crying. "We're going to lose the house. We'll have nowhere to go." I shrugged. Not my problem. Maybe Kyle can start a new influencer account. How to lose everything in 30 days. Trevor, who had been leaning against the counter the whole time, burst out laughing. The look on their faces was priceless. Anger, shame, desperation all mixed together. Dad tried one last time. "Can't you forgive us? Just help us get back on our feet?" I shook my head. "Forgiveness isn't the issue. The issue is you only care about family when the money's gone. You didn't want me. You wanted my wallet." Silence. For the first time in years, they had no comeback. I let them stand there for another minute before shutting the door in their faces. As it clicked shut, Trevor turned to me with a smirk. That felt good, huh? I didn't answer. I just looked out the window, watching them walk away slowly, like people who'd finally realized the Golden Boy act was over, and the safety net was gone for good. The walls had closed in, and this time they were trapped inside. I thought that was the end of it. Eugene rotting in county, Kyle broke and humiliated, my parents scrambling to keep the lights on. I figured the universe had finally balanced the books. But a month later, Trevor slid a newspaper across my desk while I was reviewing blueprints. Check the classifieds, he said, grinning. There it was, buried between estate sales and used car listings. Foreclosure auction, Swanson family residence, my parents' house. The same place where I grew up. The same dining room where they told me I wasn't welcome at the table anymore. It was going up for auction in 2 weeks. Trevor leaned back in the chair, smirk on his face. Tell me you're thinking what I'm thinking. I didn't even hesitate. Yeah, let's buy it. Auction day was anticlimactic in the best way. No flashy stage, no drama, just a courthouse room with a bored clerk rattling off properties while investors in cheap suits nodded along. Trevor and I sat in the back, quiet, unnoticed. When the house came up, the bidding was low. Nobody wanted an aging two-story in a neighborhood slipping downhill. I raised my paddle, cool as ice. A couple of flippers threw in half-hearted bids, but I outlasted them easily. Sold, the clerk said, slamming the gavel. Just like that, the house was mine. Trevor elbowed me. You realize how poetic this is, right? They cut you off, and now you literally own their roof. I didn't smile. Not yet. The reveal came 2 weeks later when Mom called me, voice trembling. Justin, they sold the house. We have 30 days to vacate. I don't know where we'll go. I let her talk, let her spiral about storage units and cheap rentals. Then I dropped it. You don't need to look. I bought it. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then she broke. You wouldn't. Tell me you're joking. No joke, I said flatly. You wanted me out of your finances. Congratulations. You're out. Completely. She started sobbing, begging me to reconsider, saying how unfair it was. I hung up before she could finish. Moving day was something else. I pulled up in my truck with Trevor riding shotgun. Mom was on the porch crying. Dad pacing the driveway. Kyle leaning against a box, looking like he wanted to swing at me but didn't have the energy. You can't do this, Dad said as I walked up. His voice was thin, desperate. This is our home. No, I said calmly. It was your home. Now it's mine. Kyle snapped, his face red. You're pathetic. Buying your own parents' house just to flex? You think this makes you better than us? I looked him dead in the eye. No, Kyle. What made me better was not stealing from my own brother. This is just the cherry on top. He tried to step forward, but Trevor slid between us, smirking. Careful, big spender. Wouldn't want you to max out your fists the way you maxed out that credit card. Even Dad cracked for a second, eyes closing like he couldn't stand hearing the truth said out loud. Mom begged one last time. Please, Justin. Let us stay until we figure something out. Just a few more weeks. I shook my head. When you texted me that you needed space, remember? Consider this permanent. I watched the words hit her like a slap. She covered her face and cried harder. Kyle muttered something under his breath as they loaded the last of their boxes into a borrowed van. I didn't care enough to ask what. When the van pulled away, Trevor clapped me on the shoulder. And that, my friend, is how you close a chapter. That night, I walked through the empty house. The walls still had scuff marks from when Kyle and I were kids. The kitchen still smelled faintly of Mom's candles. The dining room, the same one where they once told me I was ungrateful, was silent now, stripped bare. I didn't feel joy, not really. It wasn't about revenge confetti or victory laps. It was about balance, about finally holding the power they tried to take from me. I locked the front door and stood on the porch, the keys heavy in my hand. For the first time in years, the house wasn't a burden. It wasn't a reminder of what I'd lost. It was mine, and they couldn't take it back.